What is up, hooligans? Jay Hooligan here.
And Hooligan V.
And today we decided to do an impromptu video, live stream on here, because it just seems to be a lot of craziness going on, especially within the past couple days. And yeah, we wanted to talk a bit about how it relates to film and just some of the things that we've been seeing. You know, we talk about this extensively, and we wanted to share some of those thoughts just with everybody that's out there. You know, because it is relevant, it is important to understand, and I know we've done a couple videos about some of the other aspects of like the vertical integration with studios trying to bypass the former antitrust laws that were already the Supreme Court ruling, Paramount versus U.S. versus Paramount ruling in 1948. How they're doing all that stuff, but there's a lot more to it that's involved, and that really takes away from, we feel, the filmmaking process, and as well as just the audience reception. Entertainment value, because it starts crossing over into that realm of, into reality, right? Because the entertainment industry is all about entertainment. Okay, it is absolutely just all about entertainment, but when we start projecting certain aspects out into reality as if they are real, that's where it becomes troublesome. And so that's where it can kind of cross between a lot of the videos that have been put out on this channel, where we're talking about, say, the biochemistry of emotions, or dealing with spirituality and becoming the best version of yourself, and the entertainment industry, which is our industry and what we do. So we are outside, so we apologize if there's any wind. But it's nice to get some sun. It's a beautiful day out in California, so we're happy about that. And all the rains from was it last weekend? This weekend before?
This weekend actually too.
Yeah, something like that. So, all right. So I know you also had some stuff you wanted to talk about. I don't know if you want to kick it off. I'm always here to kick off a lot of stuff.
Which stuff?
A lot of stuff. So much stuff going on.
Well, I think it's something that we wanted to talk about was the when you were mentioning how the entertainment industry was bringing a lot of reality into it versus what it's supposed to be doing, right? Mm-hmm. So I guess like starters would be like from last year, you know, definitely like the political landscape of how that's brought into films, and with our A-list actors and talent, and not even just the talent, but you know, like some of the A-list, B-list, even like people who have really good followings, producers and directors. I guess like I really saw a lot of it come out last year, which had me thinking about.
It was an election year, that's why.
Right, which had me thinking about how did I feel about being in the entertainment industry with people like this, right? Because it's one thing to have your own opinion, and for it to be your own personal thing, that's fine. It's another to bring it into work and to push your agenda.
And additionally, it's the one thing to have your opinion, and it's another thing to demonize anybody that doesn't have your opinion, who doesn't share your opinion. Right? That's another big one.
So what's an example of that?
For that?
Yeah.
You look at any sort of division that's out there right now of anything. Like everybody, it's like either you're with us or against us. That's that whole ideology that's based off of emotions, right? And then that kind of plays right into your fight or flight system. You know, so
yeah,
it really is like any sort of thing. That's why we have a partisan government. Anything, it's like, well, if you're not, and I think I've mentioned this to you too, or I might have mentioned it on here too, where just because like there's so many outspoken people on Facebook and Twitter that are Democrats. Like if you say anything against them, automatically they assume you're a Republican. And whenever I've argued my own standpoints and my own beliefs that do not align with the Democratic belief system, automatically I'm labeled as a Republican, as xenophobic, as racist, as even transphobic. It's like,
forget about the gray area. It's black or white, or either or.
It's black or white or either or, when most people live in the gray. You know, I was thinking about putting out a video like the Lost Art of the Gray Mage. you know, and that whole idea behind that, it's like you have a white mage, your black mage, and it's your red mage or your gray mage, which is essentially your neutral, which they can pull from either side, you know, and that's where most people exist anyway. Like, how are you going to label millions of people to say they all hold the same belief, or just attach yourself to that as if you can only believe what that side believes? You can't make up your own mind. That's asinine. That's absolutely completely ridiculous. And now you have institutions that are driving manipulative, propagandic style media and stories as if, again, you don't even get a choice.
It's like, when does it become so wrong for us to have our own opinions? Like, hey, I like vanilla ice cream.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that before too. It was like, you could be offended by anything. You'd be like, oh, I had this horrible accident. My grandpa died from mint chocolate chip ice cream, and I'm traumatized by this. You can never, ever mention mint chocolate chip ice cream. Like, that's dumb, because that's a personal reflection of it, and you cannot cater to every single person's personal reflection if you're only on one side of a political spectrum. And it goes from both sides, you know. And just to be out there, I'm not Democrat or Republican. And whenever I argue against either side, they think I'm the opposite. Why? Because that's a black and white world. They don't take me as an individual. They don't take my own side to it, you know.
Why do people feel like they have to state that, though?
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. And I remember growing up, it was kind of a big thing where schools, it's like there's a small window. I don't know if we mentioned it on here either. It's been this small window when I was going to school where they would talk out against propaganda, against the media, and just telling you, hey, be careful of the type of media you consume, right? And then just be very critical on everything, question everything, right? And even avoid labels. You know, like, why do you need to be confined by a label, you know, when you can just be whoever the hell you are, or who you want to be? You know, I don't know where we lost track of all that stuff, but that's huge. That was a big thing when I was growing up, and I don't know between then and what generation, and whether it's your generation or not, you know, where we all lost track of that.
Well, the thing is, it's like, you hear it a lot that it's my generation, but it's funny that you see it across the board.
It's across the board, yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. It's not a generational gap, you know. The rebels of like the 50s, 60s, 70s and stuff like that, they are the ones that are doing this too. You know, they're the ones that pioneered it, and it's, again, they were the rebels of that versus the rebels of now, and it's like, you're always going to have that sort of divisiveness, and that's a whole other aspect of growth and maturity. But I'm kind of like going back to what you were saying, because I know that kind of trailed off on that, about bringing your political agenda and view into the workplace.
Right. You know, when did we forget to leave our own personal stuff at home? It's okay, I feel like, to talk with somebody that, you know, you work with. That's fine if you guys, you know, talk outside of work or whatever. However, pushing your own agenda through your work, I feel like you're kind of mixing the two.
Yeah.
You know, and at that point, you're not doing a job you should be doing, right?
Absolutely.
For us, film, it's telling the story, right? That comes first.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not pushing any agenda like, hey, you need to make sure that, you know, we're voting for this person, or make sure that, you know, that I don't know. No one always go back to Seth Rogen. It was just so ridiculous. It was so ridiculous that I don't remember what he was going off about. But I remember that he got so upset with people that he was like, you know what, if you don't believe in my opinion, don't come see my movies.
It's so dumb.
You know? Like, to go that extreme. Not that he's that good of an actor anyways.
But that kind of goes back to that, like,
that always gets me. Why are you pushing it?
It's not just him though. But you're right.
It always stuck to me. That was the first person I saw.
Because he was one of the first. Yeah.
And
he was one of the more outspoken ones.
It bothered me. It was like, why are you saying that? You know what? Just don't come see my movies at all, dude. That's your livelihood. That's your job, and you're putting your personal feelings ahead of that. So, yeah, there's people who are still going to go see him who are on his side or whatever, but you just outcasting anybody else who has a different opinion than you, and it's just like, fuck it. We don't want to,
Yeah.
we don't even want to deal with it. We don't even want to recognize you as a person or whatever,
I guess we've crossed the swearing boundary. So,
Sorry.
all right. No, that's fine. That's fine. I don't care.
That dude irks me so much since I saw his, posts, being a little butt about stuff.
And honestly, it's I've talked out about Jim Carrey about that. Again, it kind of going back to even Seth Rogen or actors. Look, I've always seen, even as a kid, I never understood the whole obsession with getting autographs. I didn't understand it. It just never made sense to me. Hey, you're getting an autograph of somebody who's doing their job well. And I always thought, even from middle school, I thought well, why don't I get the autographs of, the trash guys who are there every single week, on time, cleaned up, always clean, make sure they're doing their job well, or the plumber or anything. It didn't make sense to me to go get an autograph of somebody, just based off of them doing their job. They're doing their job well, and that's the other misconception that's out there. It's you can do a good job as a performer and still be a piece of shit in real life. There's no, that's not, they're not mutually exclusive. And I don't know where people thought or came to that belief where they've kind of projected characters that people portray as holding the same integrity and values in real life. That doesn't make any sense. That's literally fiction versus reality. Dude, they played that up in Coco. That whole, I don't know if it's a spoiler because it's been out for so long. The whole idea of the movie Coco was
Spoiler
alert, yeah. Pause or mute or whatever for a bit. That whole idea was Miguel had his childhood hero. He's like, that's my grandfather? Yeah. And he had built this whole idea of what he's seen in the movies as his idol, and you find out he murdered his actual grandfather, and he was a terrible person. That's a projection of what they've seen, of what they believe onto from a character point of view to who they are in real life. Now, put this back onto this kind of goes back to, I was saying with Jim Carrey, man, fantastic performer, and the bullshit that went down with him. All right, he came out to help to defend Kathy Griffin. Now, if he would have just come out with that, I would have been okay, fine, whatever. He's defending actors and comedians because they do need to push the limit. They're artists, just like a lot of other entertainers. Fantastic, fine. It would have been great. However, because people have short memories, not too long before that, he personally went against contract to promote his own movie under contract, doing his job under contract for Kick-Ass 2. Why? Because that's when Sandy Hook came out, and verbatim or quote what he would mention. I'm not gonna say because I'm gonna mess it up. So something along the lines of, he cannot, in good conscience, promote this film because it promotes, even if it's fictional gun violence. Cannot promote that level of violence. And then Kathy Griffith came out and did this artistic piece, a fictional piece of beheading the president, a national official, whether you agree with him, whether you like him or not, the president of the United States, chopping his head off. And he's like, we're artists, we gotta push the limit. Yeah, where was all that bullshit? And guess what? He just came out. I just saw the article today. Hey guys, I want to stop my political cartoons and my artwork. Yeah, that just came out today. Yeah,
that's funny.
I want to stop it because I feel that it's time for me to move on to give myself a peace of mind. I'm like, you're a political hack, dude. Do
After
not
the
give it. Yeah, after the fact. Why didn't you do that during the last 4 years?
Every
That's
single
stupid,
person
man.
rioted and it was just so chaotic over the past 4 years because they didn't like one person, right?
Yeah.
Let's kill people because they voted for this person.
or let's artistically show it that way again. And look, the artistic
well, not
medium.
even that. I'm talking about like, people just saying that.
Yeah.
You know.
How
people
many actors were saying like
people need to die because you voted for the president, or
was it Madonna who's like, I've thought a lot about blowing up the White House. Like, get out, dude. Get
so
your head
you
out
don't
of your
like
ass.
somebody.
Yeah.
That's fine, but don't sit here like, when do we dehumanize people? You know.
Yep. Well, they dehumanize them because it's easier to hate something that's not considered human, right?
Right.
And
but he's still human, so I don't know how they're gonna change that fact unless they like mutate him or whatever.
Yeah, well, that's always been my thing too. It's like, look, people that always call him a dictator, call Trump a dictator, never actually understood or lived in countries of dictatorships. You know, that's a whole other side. Sorry, this is why we're getting like so heated with it, and why we wanted to do a live with it, because it's such a weird aspect to say, but these celebrities who that's not even the political landscape is generally not any of their professions, it's acting, are pushing these agendas that aren't even consistent. You know, they're not even consistent when it comes to their own. Right? You don't want to incite violence, but you're going to talk about violence, and then you go, no, it's missing context. Really? Then what's missing in context for any and all the Trump interviews that they've done? You know, that was the one reason why I got into actually reviewing real interviews. The full interviews was not just because of the context of what these edited videos were saying, because they were so horrible, but because I wanted to know for a fact, because that's the type of person I am. I like doing the root cause. Show me the primary source. I don't care for edited stuff because I am an editor. I understand what that means to edit footage to send a message. So give me the primary source and let me decide for myself, just like everyone else should decide for themselves what they believe in. Don't tell me what to think. I want to know what the source is. I just had that this past weekend where Facebook put out this, hey, here's this article to tell you the myth that increased CO2 levels is actually harmful to plants. So I read it. Why? Because CO2 is just part food of what plants convert into oxygen for us to breathe. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. So let me read this article. And it was from Yale Climate Connect. And so this is a Yale, from Yale, a scientist, she's a geologist, by the way, talking about climate change. And the whole first half of it was saying, yeah, it's a myth, it's a myth, it's a myth, it's a myth. And then proceeded to show the evidence that these scientific studies have shown. Now, here's the kicker. And I've mentioned this before about the whole milk study. I like reading cited sources. So I went to the cited sources. And practically all of them had mentioned how there would be a negative yield of plants, not due to the increase of carbon dioxide, but actually the decrease in sunlight and water. Not any of those studies had actually shown that CO2 increase itself will actually produce a negative yield, and in fact, other factors were involved. And these are your fact checkers on Facebook, by the way.
From Yale.
From Yale. And it wasn't that hard. Their own cited sources. And I think one of them was like, C3 crops actually showed an increase in production, but C4 crops, which is like grain or corn or something like that, it had like a slight decrease. But still, again, lowered water and lowered sunlight. Like, are you kidding me?
Oh, no.
And her logic for the first part was going, that's like saying nitrogen and phosphorus, an increase of that will increase algae growth and kill fish. And it's like, what the hell does that have to do with an abundance of food for plants? How? That doesn't make any sense. But that's literally inside. It's literally in her own cited sources. You can go check it out. It was like, go read the cited sources. There's no direct correlation. None of them actually said, the increased CO2 in itself. That's like saying you have an abundance of food over there and in your house, but that somehow is going to kill you because it's just there and available. It's not being utilized. It's not being toxic to your environment. And I think that was sorry. That's a whole tangent. But that's the kind of thing. I was like,
well, it's fresh. It's fresh.
It's fresh. It is absolutely fresh because I got that stupid thing going. Oh, it's the myth that increased CO2 levels will actually be better for plants. I'm like, there are absolutely other factors involved. And why is it that people aren't actually reading into this? Well, why? Because they trust these news sources like Yale or these universities that are putting out these scientists that are saying this crap, and they can't even discern real data. They're literally picking and pulling only parts of articles and not taking the whole thing.
I mean, this isn't the first time they're doing it.
It is not.
Think about all the political stuff, right? They're only going to pull out what's going to benefit them.
I was trying to think of how I got into it. That's how I got into it. Interviews, where they keep pulling all this crap. Like, dude.
Yeah.
Give me your primary source. I want to see your primary source. That's the one that I'm going to do. I've had people do that to me too about other instances. Look. This is a bipartisan company. Okay, but their conclusion based off the data is poor because of what? Same thing like that lady. There's no direct correlation. That's literally a scientific, critical thinking perspective. You derive a conclusion based off of the data. But one, she's not even an environmental scientist, pulling from data that she's not even reading the whole damn thing. Yeah, she's not even reading the whole damn all these studies that she's quoting, and that was the thing. Redact that. She didn't quote it. She just stated her opinion based off of this. See, here's the link that I've highlighted and linked the study to. But go read those studies. Go to the primary sources. That was called the redirection. That's the whole point of it.
So you're saying that you can state your own opinion and then redact it? Is that what you're saying? Because you just redacted something?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what does that mean?
Oh, you mean like people that aren't doing that?
When you redact it.
Oh, when I redact it, that just means like what? I'm recognizing that I misstated something. Now, I think I put an article out on that, the Lost Art of Redaction, where people don't redact information anymore. Or they'll do what like the New York Post did and just do it secretly. That was the whole, the officer who died in the Capitol didn't actually die from getting hit over the head with a fire extinguisher. The actual coroner's report said he passed away from stroke, which was unrelated to the incident over there. So that and that again, there's nothing to say like, hey, that's a disservice of the officer or his duty that did that, but that was literally a manipulation. Like, look, they're killing people and everything. So, and there was somebody who was killed in the Capitol for that, but again, that wasn't technically from the rioters. That was from the Capitol Police that shot the lady. All the other five other incidents of people dying were unrelated medical conditions, is how they put it. So, again, that's just, but it's optics. All these things of what you actually see are out there. That's what people get kind of confused on. But that whole roundabout thing with, going back to actors and people projecting what they feel, they believe from the characters they play. It's kind of on the opposite end too. It's like how people get mad at negative characters like King Joffrey or Cersei. Game of Thrones is notorious for that. People are like pissed off at these people in real life, and me, I'm like, man, I hate that character. But you know what? Fantastic job at acting. Great job doing your job. Yeah. If you can hate a character, a fictional character, and you can portray that, that's gold right there. That shows they can act. They got you and everyone else.
But that's not them.
Yeah, you don't go after the real actor for that. It's so stupid. It's the dumbest thing in the world. Fiction and reality are not the same. They could be reflections of each other, but they are not the same. Okay. Got my bit out about Jim Carrey. Got your bit out about Seth Rogen. I get it. But honestly, like I said, I really respected him, and I was even an advocate for him taking the time off to be more spiritual, to really ground himself with this stuff. And he still felt the need to become a political hack, over this stuff just because he didn't agree with it. Okay? To me, that's a huge red flag. That's a huge red flag. You want to become a political hack even though you want to take time for yourself and then use that sort of spiritual grounding to try to be the basis of, look, I'm enlightened and I know he needs to be taken down. I know that we need to promote violence that I just spoke out against fictionally for a fellow artist. You know, that's just straight up bullshit, man. Come on, dude. Like, I lost so much respect for him for that. And I don't know if you had any respect for Seth Rogen. He was just being a dumbass anyway.
I didn't mind him. You know, like, I kind of like Knocked Up. You know,
I liked him as an actor before. It is because the dumb characters he would play.
Yeah.
But it's still like a.
But
a
I mean,
typecast.
that just really solidified that I didn't like him.
And I get it. I get it.
But it also brings back to something more current, right? Gina Carano. On the opposite end, right?
No.
She never stated her political.
Oh no, she had.
Did she?
Well,
I thought she kept it down low.
Okay, and here's Disney's argument of this. All right, that it's been brewing. She's been very open about that because it got to a point.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so she actually did an interview with Ben Shapiro after she's already switched over, and she was talking about why she spoke out. I don't know if that was in the interview or a different interview, but she mentioned why she spoke out was because everyone else was kind of giving their opinion without any sort of ramifications because it aligned with their political view. So you got people like, and think she even mentioned Pedro Pascal. They have opposite views, but they respected each other, and they still respect each other. She's only said great things about him, like, hey, we come from opposite sides of the spectrum, but we just recognize each other as two passionate people, and they have a mutual respect for each other. Isn't that how it's supposed to be? Like,
You mean it's okay to have a difference of opinion?
yeah, but they didn't fire him, right? They haven't even come close to firing him, or even Jack Morrissey, producer, who's jokingly, you know what? Hashtag MAGA kids go head first into the wood chipper. Guys, I was only joking. Really, you're joking about, kids,
about, cancel culture.
of your political, the opposition of your political party need to be put into the wood chipper. Are you dumb? Are you straight up an idiot? Oh, yeah, probably. No, still on, and hired by Disney. Where's his firing? Oh, but he publicly apologized. Yeah, the last straw of what Gina Carano got fired for wasn't even a partisan frickin' post. Every single news outlet pushed it. Go, look, she's talking about conservatives and Republicans being like Jews, and everyone, and that means that the Democrats are being like Nazis. No, she didn't. She
didn't
warned.
Say that. You're putting words in her mouth.
Yeah,
at that point.
they put words in her mouth about that. That was not even what she was saying. She had mentioned about like it being, hey, be careful of where we go because of the real history of how it went down. Like, are you kidding me? Really? That's what was your last straw? Really? No, they had been planning that stuff because she did not align or cater to their bullshit of you have to align with our political ideology or you're out.
Well, that's Chris Pratt too, though.
Yep.
Right? I haven't heard much about him.
He got in trouble. Well, no, okay, so he's still under contract because they still got him on as Guardians of the Galaxy because Star-Lord is still a huge part of that, so they can't yet fire him. But he just came back from filming Thor. What is it? Love and Thunder. I think that's what it was.
The new Thor movie.
The new Thor movie. So he did come back for that but I think he was the last one of the Guardians to come back from shooting. I forget where they were shooting. Was it Australia? Maybe. But yeah, I mean, like that. He's got a much bigger character, even though there's a pretty solid fan base for Cara Dune.
Right. Well, the thing is that they wanted him to play this part. He didn't want to show up. Remember, was it a charity or fundraiser or something like that?
Yep, there was some fundraiser, and that's the other bullshit optics side. Okay, Disney and Marvel, they have it built into their contracts that if you're going to play these superheroes, you must attend fundraisers that we approve, not whether you agree with them or not. You must attend them. That is asinine. That is complete manipulative bullshit right there. You don't have to, I don't care if you agree. You must attend because we told you to. And you also have to put yourself out there like a good person. So you uphold the character, the fictional character, as having those same values so you fit. What a crock of shit. Like, straight up, dude. Like, are you kidding me?
Trying to watch my language after that.
I know. I told you we already crossed it, so I was like, we're going. I'm fine with it. I don't care. But it's like, man. It's so ridiculous to know how much of the narrative they want to control. Oh, and that was another thing too, that I gotta look up to who sent it out, but I kept seeing it was like, oh, the Democrats, which doesn't mean anything to me. Sent out letters to cable companies to try to shut down Fox, Newsmax, OAN, and other conservative news channels. Pretty much like threatening them, like, what we'll do. But they didn't technically say to ban those channels. What they did was they posed it in these letters, and the director of the FCC already put out a statement going, no, that's dumb, because that's censorship, and that violates, you want to talk about, violating your First Amendment rights for a private company, and they can do what they want. Yeah, you guys are already crossing that bounds. So you all can kick rocks. So bravo on the FCC on that. But they're essentially going, what are you going to do for these stations that are putting out disinformation? Never mind that there are
disinformation.
Yeah, but never mind that there are, non-conservative. I'll put it that way. Non-conservative channels that put out disinformation, flat out lies themselves. It's so ridiculous, and that's why it's like I always say, like, I'm always a proponent of the First Amendment rights. Like, I don't care if you disagree with me. You have every right to disagree. You have every right to hold the beliefs that you do. The moment you try to silence either one, the moment I try to silence them, or you try to silence me, you're in the wrong. Period. You're gonna take away a voice because why? What's the motivation?
Oh, let's not take away the voice. Let's put them in camps, right?
Oh, the re-education camps. They're already doing that some places around the world, and that's stupid as hell. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're no longer called, like internment camps. They're called re-education camps. Huh. And then now they want reality czars and truth committees and stuff like that. Are you kidding me, dude? By the way, I found out, who the fact-checking component of Snopes is? It's a single person who is a cam girl, I think. That's what she was. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Single person.
Sorry, I don't everybody laugh at that.
Everybody that's like, oh, but Snopes said this. Like, yeah, they have one fact checker. Not even a legit researcher or anything. Just somebody who, just somebody that he got. It's fantastic. That's like, why does it say no data? Oh, there we go.
Were we live?
Yeah, we've been live.
Okay.
We've been live. It's still going.
I'm not doing
so
this
thank goodness. I know. But yeah, just the whole thing with Gina Carano, I applaud her for bouncing back so quick. That's such a martial artist. That's such a warrior thing to do. Like, hey, she found out about her Disney letting her go over social media.
Really?
Yeah. They didn't even have the balls to tell her,
wow.
like, hey, we're letting you go. They think the accident that was in her interview with Shapiro too was they accidentally sent her an email kind of hinting how they were going to let her go before they did, and then all of a sudden she found out about it because it was all over social media. Fantastic, such professionalism. Okay. Yeah, it was so dumb, man. So dumb. But like I said, it's such a warrior thing to do. Just bounce right back. And it did affect you. And what I like about her is she is a true ambiguous. She's a fighter. and she allows her she's allowed to feel her emotions too, or she excuse me, she accepts her emotions.
Yeah.
Like, she even asked, because they did this whole weird, there was a whole other incident, and she's like, look, I'm feeling a little bit emotional, just give me some time. And then, because they're political hacks that are running that, they said, no, you have to do it now. They didn't even respect that shit. Yeah, they did not even respect her wishes to say, hey, give me a moment to ground myself. Let me feel what the hell I'm feeling, and find my level so I can come to you as a level person. Nope. She still bounced back from that too. That's what I said. I really respect her as a person.
But look at
just
her
seeing
now.
how look how she's doing.
Going.
Number 1 on IMDb Pro.
Really?
Since last week.
Cool.
Yeah, they somebody put an article out about that, but I was like, yeah, I just saw that. But yeah, she's trending number 1 on there. So fantastic. Congratulations, Gina Carano. So, but was there more we were going to talk about?
I think what it all goes back to is just the political landscape again in entertainment, right? This also goes back into movies that are what, didactic. Give me an example.
Yeah. Oh, Didactic Films, essentially, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but essentially Didactic Films are films that want to shove a lesson down into the audience's throats versus having your main character, having the plot and the lesson affect the main character. They want to try to push to do. 13 Reasons Why. Great show until the last, and I've only watched season 1. Great show until the final episode, where it turned into justice for her, into, look at you, you did this, and look, I feel guilty because I did this. It was so dumb. Like, you took a great show, a great premise for a show, and just completely ruined it by becoming didactic in the final freaking episode. Like, I was real, and I enjoyed it. For even for the not just the acting and the premise of the material for it, and how brave they were to come out and to do a series about teen suicide and stuff like that. But the moment they became, because they kept it separate, and the moment they became didactic in the last episode, it just completely lost me. And I was like, I'm not even gonna watch the second season, because as much as I wanted to, it took me out so much. Because it was like, here's a lesson. It took away, because those were not real reactions that those characters would have had when they were confronted with those things. And that's the thing, is like going back to the entertainment side, right? It just doesn't work that way. It doesn't. And it doesn't add a separate dimension to a character. The dimension is like having two contrasting beliefs, or two contrasting actions that characters have and perform. That's like saying, like, no, I eat healthy. The next thing you see him like eating ice cream, right? And it's like pigging out on like a whole pint. That's not the same. Sorry, what were you saying about that? Because you asked for an example. And
right.
I kind of went off on
it's just that as an example, right? It takes you out of the film, takes you out of the entertainment value, the escape from reality, which is what films are meant to be for. Anyways, going back to like what Chaplin. People being like, let's go see the film, just to that moment of escapism, I remember reading a book, I just don't remember what book it was, and they used that as an example, right? And nowadays, all you see is a lot of that. There's so much that, honestly, I forget some of them, because I just kind of brain dump afterwards, so I'm like, okay, that was whatever,
No, I get it.
But it just, I think what I really would like to see is for entertainment to go back to that, back to storytelling, back to the entertainment factor, whether it be popcorn flicks or something that's like a drama or a documentary, but just focusing on the subject, right? Mm-hmm. The theme of the story that you want to tell, not the agenda that you're trying to push.
Yeah.
So.
And going back to that on the back end, I remember we're living in LA. And looking for work, and so many, not just the big studios, but even the indies out there, absolutely straight up discriminating against who they are trying to hire.
Right.
Pretty much like, if you're a male, don't bother applying.
If you're a white male, there's no point.
Male, there's no point. Yeah, like we've literally seen job postings of that all over the damn place.
Only women.
Hey, only women.
LGBT.
Only LGBT. Yeah,
LGBT. What is it? LGBTQ, right?
Yeah.
I know that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, only that. And it's like, you are not being inclusive at all just by offering it, because it's ridiculous. And I mentioned this before, film is like one of those only openly discriminatory industries out there that get away with it on the daily.
But my goodness, if you don't hire a woman, then you're in the wrong.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous with that. But
even though it's in the laws when you get hired at other places, other companies, where it's like you cannot discriminate against this person.
yeah, see, and here's the thing. So a lot of that stuff spawned from the guilds. Now the guilds will actually give you discounts and benefits, including, actually, it's not just
That's
the guilds,
true,
the states
yeah.
do too. When you do hire out a certain percentage of your actors and crew to be minorities,
Diverse.
to be diverse.
I think
okay?
it's the diverse break.
Yeah,
I forget what it's called.
yeah, it's a diversity break. However, people take that so far as to go like, well, if you're not at all, if you're not this at all, look, and this is unpopular opinion. All right, having a single race, having a single sex in your the majority of your film does not make you diverse. That is the action.
Right.
That is not the definition of diverse. Go look it up.
99.9% of your film is one race or one gender or whatever.
Yep.
That's not diverse.
Sex. That's why I said sex.
Sex.
It's not, because sex and gender are two different things, and I hate this misnomer. I've mentioned it before. This misnomer of sex and gender being the same thing. They are not mutually exclusive. There are scientific studies that show that there is an increase of testosterone in males. Therefore, why masculine traits do come out, but that does not mean it's mutually exclusive, because gender is psychological. And ergo is always trans. Always. You can show aspects of masculinity, femininity, and ambiguity, which is both. And both sides of that, all along that damn spectrum throughout your entire life. There is no such thing as, gender being sex. That is not true. Sex, biological sex, is different than gender. Sorry. It's like, I can't. It's just semantics is huge for me. If you couldn't tell, like I put that video out on denotative versus connotative meanings. But the psychological gender has been around for centuries, dude. It's been out there. So why is it all trying to change now? That doesn't make any sense. Because they're not mutually exclusive. They're not. And there's plenty of studies to support that they're not. And that's why you got all these identity politics running around.
Well, look, I respect people how they feel.
Yeah.
Right? And however they want to present themselves, that's fine. Mm-hmm. It just goes back to how can people help you if they don't know, right? Because I think, what is it, medical things that...
Yes and no. But I understand what you're saying. So, Matt, yes, there are different... If you are biologically female or biologically male, there are certain aspects in the medical field which only apply, we're treated differently medically for physical reasons, like things that can possibly kill you. And that's the thing too. Even the medical institutions are using gender. What's your gender? I'm like, no. Get that shit out of there. What is your sex? Because that's what's more important. You want to add a separate thing? What is your preferred pronoun? Fine.
Speaking of
have
which,
that.
They
but
have that.
Don't have that on there under gender, as if this is how I'm going to treat you medically. And possibly kill you because, you know what, I'm going to treat you for testicular cancer even though you're a biological female. That doesn't make any damn sense.
They have those questions in job applications.
Yep. It's completely ridiculous. And again, that's not to say that it's ridiculous to be trans or whatever, or to be that. You're going to feel, like you said, you're going to feel whichever way you're going to feel. And we can respect that. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with being the way that you are and being whoever the hell you want to be and how you feel. But when it comes down to medically and factually, look, you cannot force your view onto other people.
That's opinions again.
That's an opinion. That is your own view. The moment you do that, now you're trying to be a literal dictator for that. That's why I don't like marginalized cases for policy for the rest of the majority. And I'm not talking about majority like 60-40 or anything like that, or even 50-50. I'm talking about stuff like when you're talking about transsexual, or excuse me, not even transsexuals. You're talking about hermaphrodites. Hermaphrodites are the only true people I believe that need a new pronoun for themselves because they may not be treated the same biologically, right? Biologically, because 96% of the entire world is either male or female and non-hermaphroditic, even regardless of having the six different types of hermaphrodites, genetically speaking, out there. And people are trying to push these policies based off of that 2 to 4% for the rest of everyone else to fall in line with. That doesn't make sense, dude. And it also doesn't make sense the other way of saying, hey, the rest of you 2 to 4% must fall in line with this. No, I think they should have their own terms for themselves, their own pronouns for that. That is a fact. Because pronouns are based off of biological, stable things that are unchanging, things that do not change in your DNA and your genetics. Sorry, I know it's a whole other separate thing.
I don't know how we got in this conversation. Honestly, I'm lost.
Yeah. Well, just like the whole diversity, diversity thing for film, and why, film, these productions want to hire out for only specific people and just be discriminatory towards everybody else. It's.
How about we go back to not discriminating against people altogether?
Yeah. Well,
just common.
I mentioned this the other day, with this whole levels of whiteness education crap they're trying to shove down into elementary school students.
What is that? I never heard that.
Oh, yeah. There's a scale of how white you are. And I was like, man, Martin Luther King's got to be rolling over in his damn grave on how we're right back onto the color of your damn skin. Like, you got to be kidding me. And people are still trying to quote him, going, no, see, this is justice. Because we got to take down the white man. No. You got to take down racism. That's what he was talking about. Don't give me this crap of like it's just white man. What was that? I have a dream that what?
That the color of my skin?
Yeah, and there's nothing to do with the damn color of your skin. It had to do with you just as a person. That was it. But here we are, right back onto the color of your skin. Doesn't matter which race it is. Doesn't matter how it's going. We are all back into that. And why that's falling into place, hey, beyond me. And why that's actually being pushed into it, stupid. Like into policies. Great. If they're going to add discounts for diversity, fantastic. I think that's great. So then it's an incentive to hire them. But if you want to completely discriminate it, and that's your outcome for it,
right,
that's not okay. Now you've taken it too far. And that, again, it just goes back to that whole fiction versus reality. We're being diverse. You're not being diverse. You're being discriminative. You're just actively discriminating, actively and openly discriminating against one particular group.
Well, it feels
that
like
is what it is.
An eye for an eye, right?
Yeah.
But why do we need to go to that extreme?
Yep. It's completely ridiculous. But again, how that runs into it, it's like, just stop. Every one of these damn actors that wants to push and talk so negatively about it as if like
not even actors, producers, directors.
I know. It's not even that, but the actors hold a lot more of the clout. Yeah, and the influence over people because of their damn characters are written well.
That's true. And
it's like, man.
Well, even this whole this whole presidential race last year was all based on, what's like race politics, right?
Identity politics. Which include race, which include trans, which include everything. Identity politics is what took us out of Occupy Wall Street. Occupy Wall Street disappeared by what? Identity politics. Yay!
You know what? I'd be like, why don't you just show me what you can do?
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Let your damn character show what
Let your work show too.
Your character, your work ethic. Show me that you can get it done without having to go like, look at my damn demographic. No, I want to look at your work ethic. I want to look at your work, right? And the quality of your work that you do. That's what's sorry. Again, this is why we wanted to do this live. It was kind of an impromptu It was out. It was sunny out. Wanted to be out in the sun. But yeah, this stuff has been just eating at me. And you're right. Just trying to talk about it. It does help. Just to put it out there. Because again, you could agree, you can disagree. I don't care. All right?
That's
I'm not
fine.
going to talk bad about you because you agree or disagree. So why would you feel the need to do that to anybody else that you don't agree with? That doesn't even make sense, man. That is literally a power play. That is a defense mechanism to make your damn self feel better. Like, you really need that to feel set in your damn goals?
So validated.
To not just your goals, your beliefs. To validate your belief systems. Like,
How about you accept yourself? You accept yourself. You accept, right?
Yeah. Well, I put this back to atheists. Like, atheists, you don't believe in God. Fantastic. Great. But why is it important for you to downplay everybody else who doesn't hold your belief? Why do you feel the need to put them down for that? That does, again, to validate you somehow, to continuously validate you, whether through humor or sarcasm or anything like that, to make you feel better about your belief? That's ridiculous. If you believe it, fine. Fantastic. You got your reasons for it. Great. But if your beliefs are based off of just because everyone's stupid, no, then that's not your belief. No, excuse me, that's not a belief that's sound. Again, if you're atheists out there, fantastic, great. I got my own beliefs about religion. Some of them are aligned with atheist beliefs, and some of them are not. But trying to talk down on other people and to demonize them, to pretty much dehumanize them in some sort of way because they don't agree with you, it's like, dude, that's when you lost me. Like, if you're a performer and you're openly making it like Jimmy Carr does that a lot. I'm only joking about this stuff. I'm doing it because I am a performer and a comedian. I tell jokes. That's my job. Okay? You can like them or not. But I don't actually believe in these things. And he's had to state that in his own shows. Like, I don't actually believe in these things. They're horrible things. But as a performer, I can say this. Yeah. But you've got people out there that aren't doing it as performers. They're just doing it as normal life. It's just like that sort of toxicity, it takes a toll on you over the years. You start losing that groundedness. You start losing that. And then it does a number on your damn psyche. You push and blame out. The natural defense mechanism of projection is to push blame out on, I forget the other one was, there was that list of 10 natural defense mechanisms. I'm already losing some of them. But it is essentially a projection out. Why? Because you're suppressing that for yourself. It's easier for you to hate that about somebody else instead of recognizing that might be a part of yourself. Okay? So, and hate's a strong word. It is a very strong word. So when people start saying like, I hate this, it's like, okay. And I'm not talking about the connotative, I just use that as a way to say I really dislike it. I mean, like, pure toxic hatred.
I always reserve that word.
Yep.
I never use it. That's not the first word that ever comes to mind,
Mm-hmm.
Because I personally don't like that word unless I really feel a certain way, right? So.
And honestly, whenever I say it, it's like, again, it's more things that I dislike. I do fall into it as well, so I understand it.
There's a joking way of doing it, right?
Well, joking way, but even seriously, it's like, oh, I hate when that happens. Like, you don't actually hate it.
Right, but to hate with a passion.
Yeah, it's like dislike with a passion is like hatred. It's like, oh man. But yeah, film and politics, like, and even in the storytelling process, like I said, like you're mentioning didactic films, have the politics affect your characters, not to try to affect your audience, and have it affected in a way that they're gonna actually do it the right way. Okay, like, here's an example. The Umbrella Academy. So spoilers for season 2 if you haven't watched it yet.
Have I watched it?
Yeah. That's when they go back in time.
Okay.
Yep. All right. So spoilers for that was there was a moment during it was like during they were doing a sit-in. Oh, I already forget her name.
Who?
It's been so long since I've watched it already. The one who's like, I heard a rumor.
Oh yeah, that one.
I already forget.
I don't know her name either.
It's been so long now since I've watched it. But she was doing a sit-in in a no blacks restaurant.
Oh yeah.
That she was doing, and then they pulled her husband out and was beating him, and
Well, her husband was black.
yeah, her husband was black, and the cops were abusing him. I don't know if they were beating him; they were abusing him, like roughing him up a little bit. And she tried to talk sense into him.
I think they were beating him.
They might have been beating him, yeah.
I think that's why she was like so scared for his life, you know?
Yeah, but jeez, what were we talking about before this? Because I was trying to figure how it related. Like, there's something on the lines of like she tried to logically talk to them because they were like pure hatred for blacks back then.
Right, you know, and I feel like she used that a lot during that season where she didn't want to use her power. She wanted to be able to talk to people.
Yeah.
And to use that instead, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's what it was. Using politics to determine character. Now she was so hard pressed and not using her power. She wanted to convince people to just change their minds, and the politics of within that time it was affecting her and then her situation to the point where she's like, she threw out her previous principle to save her husband. The politics affected her, not the audience, because she made the decision. It directly affected her, not
her character,
the audience.
her story,
Yeah.
you know.
That's why I said where it differed with 13 Reasons Why, where it's like, now these characters were like, oh, I feel shame. Oh, it's my fault. That wasn't even their character. Even if that realization, that's not how they were. And it's just like, oh. And again, I don't know how they did that, how they continued on, because I was like, no, man, you want to be a didactic series after this? I'm like, no. You guys did great throughout the whole first season, but now you're going back, and I'm like, I can't. I really can't. Keep it out of that. Have the politics of your fictional world that you're building affect your fictional characters alone. Have it be a reflection of life. Fantastic. Do it. But don't try to force some sort of lesson in there. It's so dumb. Like, I want audience members to feel this. I want them to know how toxic these other people are. Dumb. Dumb, 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 dumb.
Go back to entertaining people.
Yeah. You know, it's... If you want to do cinema verite, you want to do documentaries, fine, do them. I go and watch documentaries all the time. I love them. I also love movies and series. Fictional. Love them. Go back to storytelling. Go back to entertainment on those. I don't want it. Again, I don't go to the movie theater. Well, nobody's going to the movie theater now. But I don't go to the movie theater to be taught a lesson. I don't go there. I go to...
Nobody's going to the movie theater in California.
Yeah,
in
California.
New York.
New York. Don't get me
Let's
started.
rephrase that. There's other states where people are going to the theaters.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm ready for a movie night.
Yeah. Well, we just watched Rear Window.
That's right.
We watched Rear Window last night, but that was for study. Right, review on that, because we watched it before.
Still a good movie.
Still a good movie, yeah.
Anyways.
Man. Keep the politics out of film, please. In your fiction. If you're gonna have politics in your fictional world, okay, then have it affect only your fictional characters. Right? That's why it's research. Primary sources. Yeah, go to the damn primary sources. Stop taking these, like, how many, I forget what the surveys have said about that, but most people do not trust mainstream media. Why? Because they lie to you. They're lying to you. And then all the people that are still blind to it are like, nah, it's okay. We're still good. Yeah, what they said, shock value, it must be true.
Right.
No, dude, just primary source. They don't report news. They are entertainment figures. It's so ridiculous, man. Anyways, so that's, again, just keep the politics out of film, please. celebrities, please get your heads out of your asses and just go back to doing what you do best. If you're passionate about an issue, make it the issue, not the person. You know, because if you're not speaking up against your own damn people, even when they're pulling these stupid moves like, hey, kids should be shoved into wood chippers, or they're literally talking about, oh, I thought a lot about blowing up the White House or killing the president. When was the last time an actor killed a president? Yeah, that was Johnny Depp. Like, dude, whew. Like, I feel for you for what's going on with Amber Heard and all that situation, but dude, come on. Don't be an idiot.
Let's treat people like people.
Huh?
Let's treat people like people.
Yeah, treat people like people again, man. Get back to it. It's like,
Alright.
Okay. That's our live for that. Again, yeah. Film and politics, man. The political landscape. Why we need to have discussions about this while they're discussing policy and how to further deal with safety precautions. Nobody is talking about this other side of it where they're pushing political agendas, even in the hiring process and literal discrimination that's going on. Nobody's talking about that crap. And now you have things like what's going on with Gina Carano, where it's like, oh, now you got fans waking up to that. I'm like, yeah, this needs to be talked about. It needs to be discussed. It needs to be nipped in the bud. Like, it needs to just stop outright. Quit being discriminatory a-holes about it. You know, treat people like people. You know, if you're trying to get a certain number of actual diverse minorities in your group, fine, but don't discriminate against everyone else. You know, because of it. That's just dumb. That is literal closed-minded, you know, BS. I have to tone it back now because we're gonna go back inside. It's like, but yeah, just please discuss this more. Have adult conversations with each other. Stop acting like petty children. You know, treat people, like you said, and let's move forward with this because things are not getting any better. You know, as much as the media tries to paint it as it is, it's ridiculous that they're doing it. But
The best thing we could do is unite.
yeah, actual unity does not mean just getting together with your own friends that you already agree with. That's not what that means. That's not what it meant 4 years ago. That's not what it means now. You know. All right, guys. I think I had enough sun. It's like, thank you for joining me on this one. And we'll see you guys later.